Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Pontificating. I am your host, Keoma, for today, and I am here joined by my lovely castmates because this is a show. We putting on a production here. This is what we're doing. I'm here with my lovely castmates, Ty and Asia and Sally B, and we are checking in. We're checking in. What's good, everybody? How we doing?
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're exhausted.
Yeah, we okay.
We're giving. Are we giving high vibrations? Are we giving low? Are we like medium? Are we at medium?
Why is no one discussing medium vibrations?
I feel like I'm medium.
Like,
definitely.
why can't I have like shrimp and a burger, like surf and turf? Why is it? Why I gotta pick and choose? Please. I'll ride the medium.
Yeah.
I'm on the medium wave. I definitely, yeah, that's where I'm at. All right, so we're gonna kick it off. We're gonna jump right in with our Eric, you are wildin'. Eric. So Sally B, how's Eric? How's Eric been pissing you off this week, bro?
You know, when is he not pissing me off? Honestly, when is he not pissing any of us off?
This is true.
Just reading the news and stuff like that. Whenever I do the little bit that I do, I'm like, does he think he's a party promoter? Like, what's happening? What is going on with this guy? Instead of freaking running the city, you're over here getting decked out and hosting parties. Like, what are we doing here? There's lots of shit going on in this fucking city. I don't want to be here. Nobody want to be here, but you out here partying. What are we celebrating? What are we celebrating? Please.
First of all, he is a man of the city. Okay. Okay. He is one of the people. All right.
Well, then say that. Well,
he's
say
not like
that.
these transplants, you know.
Well, say that. Act like that. Like, don't, hype us up just to give us this bullshit. Nothing's changing. Like, what are you doing?
Listen.
Why were we? Well, not we. Well, why were they so behind him? Why? What happened?
Because he's black.
God damn it! I hate that narrative. I hate that shit.
And the man, because we had like 2 or 3 black women on the ballot, and they were just like,
and
women. One had dreads,
right?
Clearly,
yeah. She can't.
Well, she shot herself in the foot because she was associated with De Blasio, so that just wasn't gonna happen.
That's true. That's true.
But my man Eric out here being a socialite. You know what I'm saying?
There's shit that's wrong with the city. What are you doing? And it's not like you're doing it to benefit. You know what I'm saying? The city. No, you're not doing that. So I'm tired of it. I'm his shenanigans. I'm over it. He gotta go.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, after his stint as a mayor, that he like opens like a series of like clubs,
right?
Lounges.
I can see that.
I can see that.
Or maybe more so like speakeasies. He looks like the speakeasy type of nigga. That type of dude. He's like, nah, I want to control who comes in here.
Yeah.
Speakeasy. He want to control the narrative. He can't.
I can see him having a VIP list, like,
that. Yeah.
No,
phones in the bag.
Yeah.
Before you come in and all that. Yeah, you can't.
100%.
Ridiculous.
Speaking of like getting into clubs, can I just talk about like the beauty standard? But also, really, it's just chin hair. Like, I don't know how this is Eric's fault, but I feel like he played a part. Maybe because he's a black man, maybe because he's bald. I don't know. I feel like there's something happening. But why do we have chin hair? Not all of us. Some women are blessed with baby smooth chins.
Nonsense. They're lying to you. They get
not
lazy.
Myself, and I'm just like my edges. I gotta take care of them. I have to moisturize them, castor oil. Wear a bonnet when I remember. But the chin hair, it grows freely every day. I can actually feel my chin hairs growing in. I feel them.
Of course.
Is it me? Do you guys feel them when they grow?
No, I feel it. I got one right here. Right.
I can literally feel it growing out of my skin. I don't know if it's like mental illness or what, but I'm like, why? But I will say this. As much as I hate my chin hair, it is such a pleasure to like get one. And like really like I had one I was working on for at least 3 or 4 days. And it was.
What do you mean? What do you mean working on?
It broke.
It broke. Yeah, I couldn't catch it. The tweezer was too thick. Yeah, like the hair was too fine. Enough wasn't out enough. Listen, girls with chin hairs, they're gonna be like, oh yeah,
we get it.
we get it. So sometimes like the hair isn't out far enough, but like you feel it because I'm constantly like,
you gotta wait it out.
You have to wait it out because if you go too soon, you'll break the hair and then you have to wait another growing process. So I had one that was like really getting at me for like at least 2 or 3 days. And finally last night in the bathroom, I took my time. I like got close to the mirror, did some inhales, and I got my like really pointy tweezer. And then it's all about like manipulating your face because you gotta damn near, it's a whole situation, but I got it. And I like the feeling of relief I got when I pulled this chin.
Extracted.
So Eric, I'm not sure how you're playing into this.
It's stress.
It's the stress.
Stress.
Thank you. It's the stress. You know what it is? That's what it is. The city is very, very dangerous right now. I'm stressed out. My testosterone is through the roof. I'm looking left. I'm looking right. So I'm getting hit in the back of the head or stabbed up. It got my hormones all messed up. Now I'm growing chin hair.
Correct.
Eric, do your job. I'm growing chin hair. I'm a young lady,
girl. You're gonna have a full face by the time he's done with his term.
And listen, if I grow a full beard, it's gonna be styling though, because I wouldn't mind a goatee. I always think they're a goatee and like a must.
So you know what? Honestly, we're jumping off topic here, but I feel like it would really go well with your rat tail.
Yes, I do want a rat tail.
All right. Okay.
Those who don't know, I really want to grow a rat tail.
Let's not throw them all. Look, Keoma,
I don't know why.
Let's get back on track.
I want to grow a rat tail so bad, but
let's get back on track. It's not working out.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Don't understand.
We're on the topic of beauty standards, and Ty, Eric pissed you off with what? What did he do? What did he do to you?
Nah, Eric didn't do nothing to me. I think we should go to Is It Just Me or...
All right, so let me say this. By the time you hear this, homecoming was last week. Homecoming was last week. And I went to CUNY. So I went to City College of New York. That's where I met the majority of these ladies. And though I enjoyed my time there, I could never imagine going back every year to see anyone and celebrate ever again. And I do realize this is a very distinct feeling that comes with going to HBCU and probably going away to college. And I really don't get it. And this is not even like trying to be shady. I don't get it. I do not understand why I'd want to go back every year to see people I went to school with every single year.
The glow up. What you talking about?
No, but earlier on TikTok, I saw I forgot what school it was. It was HBCU, and they had like all the line members. I'm not sure which sorority it was, and there was like people from like probably like freshmen or whatever age you can start to join, and then it was like these old ass ladies, like probably like 60s and 70s, and they were like doing their little, please sororities don't come for me. I don't know what any things mean, but it was at that moment that I did get it. I got it. I was like, oh, that is amazing to like go back and see history and these people you connected with, like, if you've become really successful and you're all across the world now, like you're coming back and you're seeing like the younger line members and you're seeing how much your school has grown. And then like, even thinking about like, cause it was old ladies there. And I was like, imagine like being like 1940s Black woman in college, which it was like, really amazing thing to it wasn't a small feat to get education at that time, to like be in 2022 and seeing all these young Black women and men still keep it on a tradition. And I was like, I'll never understand it on like a deep level because I didn't have the experience, but I can see how now I would want to go back. Now, probably not every year. There's no way I'd be going every year. That's just me. I'm an introvert. I don't need to go every year to do anything with lots of people. But I can see how like you're really watching the progression of like where you came from, like being like one of the first people of that school, like the first class of like, I don't know, Spelman or whatever. And then now it's 50, 60 years later and you're watching the new class come in and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay, I see. Like it's more like the glow up or like the progression of how far you've come and like coming back and like honoring like where you've come from now. And so I kind of, but
It's a big thing.
It's
a huge thing.
No, I couldn't relate to it.
Because we didn't go through it.
Yeah, like I mean, we went to City College is mad black also, but it wasn't like a school for black people.
Right.
It just
right.
I mean,
you can imagine like what would a City College homecoming be?
Honey.
What would it be like?
Pointless. That's what it'd be like.
A beaver.
Absolutely.
A damn beaver
pointless.
in the quad.
No, I'm talking about like our experience. Like, what if it was like, all right, it's like a big party at like an Opal party. And then you party like the cast party of like, I don't know, hair or some shit, some wild cast party that like, what if that was like the vibes?
I guess
a Sonia house party. Like, what if that was?
I'll go to that.
I would go again. Not every year.
Not every year. It's not an every year thing.
Couldn't do it every year.
Yeah.
But
got it.
But yeah, we definitely. I understand it because my roommate. This sounds crazy. When I was in training, she for my current job, she's an AKA, and there's a whole bunch of them right now on the line, and it's a whole big thing.
Oh yeah,
their daughters are in it. You know what I mean? So I could see like how it means so much to them to go back. And now I have my daughter who just turned 18. Now she's an AKA. You know what I mean? Like it's just a whole big celebration, and just to see her celebrate her daughter. And they're both wearing the same thing and doing it. It's amazing.
That's beautiful.
It's nice to see. It's really, really nice to see.
And you know what is also why I don't get it? I'm gonna just finish this up. Is because I really don't have now I'm not calling it a cult, but I don't have cult mentality. I don't have the need to be around lots of people. Right. So like
lies.
No, I don't. I do not.
Didn't you do a cult? Weren't you in a cult?
No. I think cults are very interesting.
They are.
They are very interesting.
What's that mindset cult? What was it called?
Momentum.
Right.
But it worked. But momentum worked because it lasted 3 days. It was 3 days of culting and you were done. That was it. That's the max I have for a cult is 3 days.
Well, you could have went on. You just didn't take the pressures that you didn't go with the pressures.
Financially, right. I'm not saying cult like a bad thing. I'm saying like people have like loyalties to like they love a celebrity, right? Like they'll go to Beyonce's concerts no matter where she's at. People have like they have stands. People would love church. Humans of all walks of life love to belong, love to be around people. Yeah, they love to belong. It's a human nature thing. I'm sure I have it to some level, but it's very little. So the idea of like being in a sorority, I thought when I was younger, I was like, I would pledge, but then I was like, actually, I don't have the commitment to being in this. I don't have the commitment to it, which is commitment. I don't have that mindset of wanting to be around a group of people all the time forever. So I think that's also why part of it is like, I can't relate because I don't have that need to be in that kind of environment. But in seeing it, I was like, oh, this is a very precious moment.
And no matter where you go, there's always someone. It's like you can go to Timbuktu. There's the AKA there. Hey, I got taking care of each other, and I've witnessed it. I was like, what the? Do you know her? No, but that's my sister. Huh? They do.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I was like, what? You don't even know these people, but you don't have to. So
it's a symbolism thing. It's like it's just a stamp of like Black pride. That's like another way for them to show how proud they are of being Black. That's why I've been to a homecoming twice. Yeah, I went to Clark Atlanta's and I forget the other one that I went to. It was mad fun. I don't understand how anybody gets any work done going to a school like Clark Atlanta, but it's like, because that is like, amongst people that know amongst HBCUs, like Clark Atlanta is a party school. But I mean, you do get an education, but I do understand the being there. I think the only time that that feeling was like replicated was when I was in South Africa for New Year's with Ty. But just like that Black pride, just like the being around so many smart, educated Black, like it's just there's not it's a very unmatched feeling. Like y'all can still turn up, you can still, have fun or whatever, but y'all have your degrees, majority of y'all have career, like, it's like a thing of just like celebrating the fact that we are Black and educated, and we have made it this far, because we are at a certain age and some of us don't make it. That's why I definitely love seeing a lot of like the men participate in it, whether they're in fraternities or not. Like, it's just like a feat that you made it to this age and that you were able to go to college and all these things like that. So I definitely get the pride and all that stuff like that, even though I couldn't do it myself. Like, I'm just tired thinking about it. Like, it's a lot.
Speaking of pride, Salone, don't you have is it just me? Speaking of a prideful Black.
Black?
Damn, I wish she didn't kick it to me like that, because it's nothing to be prideful about. I don't even know how to start this one off. Like, first of all, it probably isn't just me. All right. It's about Kanye. And I'm having a hard time, like, throwing out my Yeezys, because those orthopedic shoes, especially now being, 21 months pregnant, they're very comfortable. And Kanye really is wilding. Like, he is wilding. Like, there was a point in time where I felt like, no matter, okay, he has a family drama, this and the third, he's harassing Kim, whatever it is. I didn't care. I was like, I still love him. I know, very problematic. Like I said, nothing to be prideful about, but I just didn't care. But then, with his latest shit that he over here pulling, I am perplexed, and I don't know which way I should go.
Can I ask why you're perplexed?
because it's like I want to like him. I really do. And I always have.
But why?
But now I can't. I cannot. Mental illness to mental illness, obviously.
Now, okay. Wait a minute. We gotta stop.
Listen. I get it. I understand. That's why I said I know it might just be me. It might just be me.
Everything that I've seen on the Instagrams and with his cult-like following,
it's too much.
It's not just you. It's always, because even I was watching the other day, Trevor Noah made a statement on, like the fact that he doesn't have beef with him because he has a mental illness. It's very, very, and a lot of people have said this, and I think this rhetoric and this, like, it needs to gain more traction and be on the platform. It is very dangerous to interpret his behavior and the things that he is saying due to mental illness.
Correct.
Blackness is not a mental illness. That is just that is just the things that you believe. Kanye has just done so, and I really tried to like block him out of all, because it pisses me off. But it's like he has done so much to shit on Black people and shit on legacy and just like all of the things that Black people have done to for him to be at the stature that he is now. He's just disrespectful and he's an asshole, and that's just it. Like, he may have a mental illness, sure, but that is not why he's behaving the way he's behaving. He is behaving like a white privileged man, because that's the caliber of celebrity and just the tax bracket that he's in. He's surrounded by people that call him a genius and like all of this shit like that. But Kanye has been exhibiting this behavior since forever, since he said that slavery choice. So it's like it shouldn't perplex people. it shouldn't. I mean, it just further,
It perplexes me as to why I felt that way about him still, even after he said slavery was a choice and all this stuff. I'm like, well, it's me trying to understand. Like, there's nothing to understand. There's nothing to understand, and I get it. This is why I said mental illness for me. You know what I mean? Clearly, it is. Because what else? And then
I just said.
And then, like, listen, what he just did, or what he just said, even talking about like Virgil and his best friend. I'm like, you're clearly crazy. Like, what are you talking about? It's not your best friend. What do you mean Louis Vuitton killed Virgil? Like, what are you saying? The man had anyway, whatever. White Lives Matter went all the way left. Then George Floyd, who I spent my entire freaking 2020 marching, you're gonna say that he didn't die because Eric Chauvin had his knee on his neck? You're gonna say shit like that?
Derek
Chauvin. So I feel like I'm done. Derek Chauvin. Eric is in my mind. Fucking mayor. It's his fault too. Anyway, but no, that I feel like that's my last straw. Like, I don't have it in me, so that's why I'm a little confused, because the shoes are very comfortable. You know what I'm saying? It's comfortable for me, and especially.
Okay, I don't think this is mental illness. I think this is the plight of Black people.
Maybe.
Truthfully, there's not a single brand that we should be wearing
that is true.
Something crazy about us. But Black people, I mean, all people, but particularly Black people, love name brand shit. That's a mental illness right there. They love name brand shit, no matter who's attached to it, no matter what negative ass thing has been said about us, they still love it. So a lot of people don't agree with Kanye West, and they still wear his stuff because people don't connect. Like, for me, my driving force is I'm not going to fund your anti-Blackness, and people. They forget that part. They forget the funding part. Every time you stream music, you're funding. Every time you buy sneakers. So it's not just I'm supporting him, whatever. You're literally funding his foolishness.
Yeah.
And people forget that their money, because they feel like, oh, my whatever Yeezys cost, some stupid amount of money. They forget that $200, $300, how much do they cost?
It depends.
Give me a range, because I really have no idea.
Like from like $250.
Okay, so people feel like their $250 doesn't matter. It does matter. It does. Your $250 does indeed matter. And we have to stop funding him. Don't think of it like I like him. Who the fuck cares? You like everybody. That's not. Think of funding. Would you fund Donald Trump? Would you fund a Nazi party?
I get it.
You would not. So
Asia, I get it.
Listen, so it's not like it's think about your actual money. You have a child on the way. Do you want to take money out of your child's mouth to put into Kanye's bag of hate? Think of it like that.
That's why I said it had to stop. So whatever Yeezy I have,
that's it.
It stops there. You understand what I'm saying? But it's like I don't want to stop wearing what I had. And plus, you know what? I spent it. I spent the money. The money's gone. Can't get it back.
I mean, you can get it back if you sell it. If you sell it, they're worth more now. Because I was not to be like insane, but I also struggled with the same thing. I have Yeezys, I have Yeezy brand stuff, but I have packaged them beautifully and they are being sold. Because at some point, yes, you have to draw the line, you have to do all these things, but I will never like play myself and my intelligence to be like, oh, I'm confused. Like he's exhibited that behavior, and I, as a consumer, chose to ignore it. And I still bought. That's
right. That's a better way to put it.
You have to like, just don't like. He's been saying this shit. He's been saying all these things like that, and let's just stop. The buck stops here. Buck stops here with Kanye. And I know Ty and Asia don't have Yeezy shit. Salone, you and I will never spend another dime.
We're done.
The
buck stops here, like you said. We're done.
Stops here.
No more confusion. We're done. Got it.
Speaking of done, let's move to our main topic, our So Boom. Keoma, you about to educate
Boom.
the people or nah?
I'm about to educate y'all. Hopefully this is not new things. Hopefully these are things that we all know, but even if it is, no shade, we learn something new every day. So what's on the election ballot? Last episode, I ended, letting y'all know that this is what we were going to be talking about today. Voting. Don't believe the hoteps, y'all. It is important. I understand that it's frustrating. I definitely understand that we would like things to happen and to change, but shit doesn't happen overnight. We got to put in the work, and we cannot stop being vigilant. I guess that's the best word. So what is well, let me start by saying voting leave rights, right? There's certain things that we have to put in action to prepare to vote, right? So if you have a job where, you're working overnight shifts and early morning open ballots just doesn't work for you for, election day on November 8th, you can vote early. So our early voting period, it starts October 29th to November 6th. So October 29th is a Saturday, and certain polls, and you can go on the website, elections.ny.gov, and you can put in your zip code and it'll specify a lot of different polling centers will come up. And so certain polls and polling centers are open 9 to 5, 10 to 3, certain flexible hours during the early voting period, which again, October 29th to November 6th. Now on election day, our poll hours are from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So let's just say you got to work 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., right? For whatever reason, wild, you're pulling a double, you got to get the money, whatever. New York State voting laws, it is mandatory that your job allows you 2 hours, whether 2 hours in the beginning of your shift, 2 hours at the end of your shift, to designate to you going to vote. Say you're like me, I live in Brooklyn now, but my polling center is in Staten Island because I'm not doing all that extra just to change my ID. My job will allow me to leave either 2 hours early, or I can come in 2 hours late because I have to go vote. So that is very important. We can't keep blaming it on we don't have the time, we don't have the resources. There's ample time, ample resources. You just have to know. Knowledge is power, y'all. It is. So what is on the ballot? What are we voting for? I know that's like a very big question because a lot of people just don't know, because it always, like what are midterm elections, all these things like that. This is election, the main election. We are voting for New York governor. We are voting for our lieutenant governor. We are also voting for our attorney general and comptroller and Senate. Okay, those are the only things that we are voting for. So New York governor and lieutenant governor is basically like linked. If you're voting for, the Democratic Party, you are going to be voting for the same governor and lieutenant governor. It's essentially like when you vote for a president and vice president, it's the same thing. So our after midterm elections, they have determined, Miss Kathy Hochul, I think that's how you pronounce her name, who replaced Cuomo after he resigned amid all this. Hochul, sorry. Thank you. After he resigned amid all the sexual assault allegations. So she is running with Antonio Delgado. He's running with lieutenant governor. And so quick hits for Kathy, what is on her campaign website. If you go to Kathy Hochul campaign, if you just Google it, all of her campaign hits will come up. And her website is very easy to navigate, very, it's very friendly on, these old eyes that we have here. So quick hits, she's proposing a $1.2 billion tax cut on the middle class, right? So that's very important because New York, the majority of New York's population is middle class. And
what is middle class range?
Well, the last time I checked, it's essentially the same range as if folks who know for the student debt relief. So if your family makes under $150,000, you're in that middle class range. I think the least that you can make $60,000, which is wild as a family, but yeah, $60,000 to $150,000. Do not quote me on that because I'm literally just trying to remember from last year. So yes, $1.2 billion tax cut on middle class. She proposes to grow the New York healthcare workforce by 20% by proposing a $10 million investment, which is also very important to me. Just thinking about, like going to the emergency room, sitting in there for 3 hours. That is because certain hospitals don't have the staff to meet the demands of, shit coming in at all hours of the night. And another thing that I found very, very important that I think a lot of folks would be interested in is a Jails to Job initiative that she's also launching. And so this initiative is for formerly incarcerated people. We know that the plight is when they come out of jail, once they've been convicted of a crime, it's very difficult for them to find a job. It's always, job background checks, all of these things come up. So her initiative is supporting folks in finding jobs and also restoring the tuition assistance program, which is crazy because it's been banned in New York for 30 years. So the only other place that I've heard of something like this happening is Columbia. Columbia offers basically a restorative, like furthering your education. It's targeted to folks that are between the ages of like 40 and above, or starting from 40 and above, or folks that just came out of jail. They've been convicted of a crime they can't afford. So they get charged like a lesser tuition. But this Jail to Jobs initiative is like really big. If, when she's elected, she puts this into, fruition. And so her campaign, her whole like slogan is the New York comeback. Kind of like Eric Adams, because I think that's something that he was running on as well, like bringing New York back and all these things like that. But hers is less focused on the lounges and the bars and more focused on, the New Yorkers and the economy. And in conjunction with like healthcare, she is working towards cementing New York as a safe haven. So we're a safe haven for immigrants, and we're also a safe haven for abortions. Like you can come from anywhere and get, an abortion, which is very big on the ballot everywhere across the United States. And she developed and proposed a patient bill of rights. And that's to make us aware of our rights and legal protections as patients. Like when we go visit doctors or emergency room, especially as Black women, we need to be aware of what it is that they're supposed to be doing for us. They're supposed to listen to us, and we have to advocate. And it's very important for us to know our limitations and the doctor's limitations on what they can and can't, dismiss. So I thought that was very important as well. And then also very important, something Asia was talking about last week, is the New York housing, the crisis that is the New York housing. So she plans on launching a 5-year housing plan to invest $25 billion to create and to preserve, which is very important because it doesn't matter who comes in after her, they can't overturn if it's preserved. Preserve 100K of affordable housing units. That's very important. Because not only, again, it's like kind of like being rent controlled, right? Like they can't just take it away. So if she implements this, it doesn't matter who comes in after that. This is your space, and this is what it will be designated for the city. Another thing that she's proposing, and I'm going to close out with Kathy Hochul, is a safe option support, aka SOS teams, and it's to help battle the homelessness crisis in New York. What I think is important to mention, but it's also the same thing like Eric Adams also proposed, mental health practitioners like going to subways and going to emergency shelters and things like that to I guess, talk to these people because there's not much else that a mental health practitioner can do. I thought it was interesting, but I find it interesting that these politicians, they always offer support in the mental health capacity as opposed to support in let's find you housing, let's find you a job, things of that nature, because all homeless people aren't suffering from a mental health crisis or suffering from mental illness. So I do find it a little irritating, frustrating that none of the plans by either Kathy or the Republican candidate offer any type of like building more shelters, because 5-6 years ago, New York did a sweeping of closing so many homeless shelters, hence why so many people are on the street. So it's a little irritating to me that that is not something that is in anyone's plans, like at all. And that's just, crazy.
And just speaking to like the rent part, I was reading this article, like landlords are on strike from renting their apartments. So it's not that people can't find apartments or they're not there, they're there. But the landlords want to raise the rent so high in their mind, they're just not renting them. I'm going to make up some numbers because I forgot the exact numbers. But it was like, if there's like 100,000 apartments that are not for rent, because landlords refuse to sell them or refuse to rent them because they're trying to get them rented for just crazy amounts of money. So I feel like somewhere someone should be cracking down on landlords. Like you cannot do this. You cannot hold hostage apartments, because that's going to add to the homelessness situation. Because not everyone homeless is mental illness. It's people like who have regular jobs who can't afford their rent. I mean, I'm sure that will lead to mental illness if you're working a fucking 9 to 5. You're working 9 to 5 or 2 or 3 jobs and you got to be homeless. I'm almost certain that'll make you insane.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, keep building shelters, whatever. But we don't even need more shelters. We need the apartments that are for rent to be for rent at an affordable price. And I was even discussing with my coworker the other day, to touch real quick on what we discussed last week, like why does rent go up every 1 to 2 years? It should really be something more locked in. Like do you plan to stay here for 10 years? Okay, here's a 10-year lease. And in these 10 years, you'll pay this amount of money. The idea that we're still allowing rent to go up every 1 to 2 years is insane, because there's no guarantee for your job to match the speed of your rent. So it's like, okay, build more shelters, I guess, but also let's work with what we already have.
Yeah.
Also, the city is crowded as fuck. And they also need to make sure that these new apartments have parking, because you're putting up buildings and no one has anywhere to put their damn car.
They have parking, but they're charging an astronomical amount for people to park in garages. Like when I was looking for apartments, and this was like peak COVID, but during the, like shutdown and everything like that, there were buildings that we were looking at where like the rent was $2,500, but parking per month was anywhere between $300 to $500. That is insane. Yeah. I'll sell my car before I do that.
Yeah, I just want to interject. Like what you just brought up, Sonia, is actually the job of the state comptroller, which is also going to be on the ballot, and I'm pretty sure that's Keoma will, like, just so like right. So everything that we bring up as citizens, it's like there are certain offices that deal with that, and we're not, like, I think you joked about it like last episode, like what the fuck does a comptroller do? And the comptroller is basically the COO, like the comptroller is basically like the church finance woman,
the CFO. Our state CFO. Yes, that's true. I will get to my comptroller in a minute.
I was just reading about it too.
So the Republican candidate, for whomever's listening, that's Republican, whatever, I don't really care, but the Republican candidate is Lee Zeldin. So his website is wild. It literally looks like, I think the only thing that I can compare it to is like a fucking eviction notice, like where something is like bright red and then there's just mad like sub, like that's literally what it is, just mad. Like, for instance, like he has no clear description on how he plans to increase public safety. It's literally just bullet points. Like, right, fucking spitballing. He had ideas and he was just like, yes, let's make a bullet point of this. So I'm just gonna like a couple, because it's wild. The one thing that two things, but one thing that stood out to me was he wants to repeal the HALT, which is HALT, Solitary Confinement Act. So HALT stands for Humane Alternatives to Long-Term Solitary Confinement. Listen to this shit. So this act that the New York State operates under, it limits solitary confinement to 15 days, which is fucking wild. He wants to repeal that shit. Mind you, this act is only 3 years old. 3 years old. That's it. Only 3 years old. But that's like one of his like main things. Repeal that. And like his bullet points have things of, you know, like the Department of Correctional Officers, like repealing that, like doing a whole overhaul of that, doing a whole overhaul of the parole system, and but not in a good way. All of these things need to be overhauled, yes, but he wants it to be where it's more of whomever is the governor will have control of certain things like that, whereas that usually falls under the lieutenant governor and then sub, or whomever the mayor is of the different counties and cities that our jails are in, because not all of our jails fall under, you know, Eric Adams' delegation or whatever. So yeah, that, if you want to read up on Lee Zeldin, whatever, I think we'll actually know whatever.
For us to give everybody all of the things. So just like to go, we could do quick 3 bullet points of like what his what Lee Zeldin's platform is. He wants to restore public safety, as Keoma said. He wants to expand educational opportunities. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. It was very vague. And then he wants to cut taxes and stop congestion pricing. And
cost of living, which I don't understand either. The cost of living. I'm like, what are you gonna do about the cost of living? Like what?
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So that's like a banking guy, and he is thinking about like, so when I hear the word like safety and restoring it, and a lot of these politicians are throwing these words around with empty policies behind it, is basically he's going to back the NYPD, is what I gauge from everything that he has been saying. And if that's important to y'all, safety in very loose, vague terms, then that's your
And what he said, he wants to, you know, fire all the DAs who don't enforce the law.
Like, what does that even mean? Okay. But, yeah, like the thing on his, like the education system, it was basically like a lot of these politicians a lot of the Republican candidates, I should say, in blue states, what the basis of their campaign is like freedom, right? It's like freedom of choice, all these things like that. So ending vaccine mandates, like vaccine across the board, not just COVID vaccine. So like just kids could just come to school without getting, you know, like their measles and their, you know, all those things like that. But also there was a line in here that he has that is promote more civics in the classroom to educate kids more about their great nation. And then there's a comma, and then teach students about the Holocaust. That, like these things, like these.
Moving on.
That, you know, but it, like Ty said, it's very important to know what so that you understand how important it is. Like if we don't go out and vote as, you know, a Democratic Party or whatever, we don't keep New York blue, this is what we could be forced with, you know? So yes, to Ty's point, that is very important.
Yeah, and it's important, and I just want to say it's important about the governor, just in case anybody doesn't know what the governor does, because everything is kind of like highfalutin up in the air. So basically the governor is able to sign and veto legislation. So like there are a few, what am I saying right now? There are a few proposals that's up on the docket right now. They have a couple of ballot proposals, and these are the people that can make these laws a thing for us or not. And then they also, which is really important, they set the state's yearly budget and how to allocate it. They appoint leaders in our state positions, such as like the DOE, the police commissioners, shit like that. I actually think the mayor does police commissioners, but these are the important things that they are able to do. So we have to make sure that we are vigilant and making sure that we align with what's best for the humanity of us or whatever. But yeah, back to you, Key.
Okay. And so next on the docket, on the ballot, will be Attorney General. So the incumbent is the, graceful Letitia James. And she's running in the Democratic Party. And so Letitia James is basically like running on her same campaign that she did before, restoring, justice and also cashless bail, which is also very important. It is a very tricky, it's very tricky, but it needs time. Like we need time, and she needs the support of city council and all these things like that. So that's why it's also very important to vote across the ballot, not just, just like spitballing anything else, but she also needs the support of, the people within the Attorney General's office and the support of the mayor and all these things like that, which I'm sure like she has to an extent the support of the mayor, but it's also whatever. But yeah, so Letitia James is running as the Democratic candidate, and the Republican candidate is Michael Henry, who also came up in the AG system as well. He has done his, I guess, civil duty. He's done his civil duty to an extent, but I mean, I feel like New York needs to continue on the track with someone like Letitia James, not just because she's Black, but because of all of her values, right? Bringing any and everyone to justice. Like that is her, campaign slogan, essentially. Like that's what it encompasses. Like, yes, it's important that she is, suing and bringing charges against all the entire Trump family and all these things like that. But what the charges are also very important. It should be representative of the ethos of New York. It doesn't matter who you are. If you break the law, this is what's going to happen. And so I think that it would be what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know, but yes, vote for Letitia James. That's my, slogan. If you're a Republican, I suggest that you read up more on Michael Henry. AGs tend to not really have that big of like a campaign, slogan and all these things like that, but you're welcome to research Michael Henry. Does anyone have anything?
He's also he's a lawyer and a firm owner, which I think says a lot about who he is. He's another NYPD guy. He's talking about the quote unquote crime crisis. He's talking about cracking down on rampant corruption and the cost of living, which is also very, very vague. I also would like to point out, I'm pretty sure Letitia does not have the support of the mayor because she was defund the police all day.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, but that's my girl, and I'm voting for her.
Yeah, same. So now we are on to the New York State Comptroller, which is what Ty spoke briefly on. So the incumbent is Thomas D. Napoli, and the Republican candidate is Paul Rodriguez. So Thomas D. Napoli, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't have too much knowledge on the comptrollers, but one thing that he is like really running on is keeping New York's home ownership rates. Increasing New York's home ownership rates. Right now, we are at the lowest in the nation, and our state's racial and ethnic home ownership gaps are higher than national average. And so that's one thing that he is running his campaign on. That's like, yeah, that's really like all the commercials and stuff that you see with him. It's him trying to close that gap. That's what he says. Paul Rodriguez.
I have a question. What is his plan to close the gap?
That is the question.
Well, he's to close the gap on what?
The racial divide between home ownership.
The gap.
Oh, I don't know. He says a lot about, I haven't heard him talk about race, but he talks a lot about working families and laboring families because he comes from like a union family. So I just read white. But he does talk about, like when you were talking about the landlords and stuff, and I was like, he from what I read about him, he says that he has cracked down on landlords and like the way that they price gouge people. I don't know if that's true because I still feel it. Um, and he's also big on like fighting government fraud and waste. And he's like talking about improving government efficiency and effectiveness. I did not read anywhere where I can find something to back that up, but because he is in office now, but he does talk about how he was managing the pension fund well,
Mhm.
and how that's like one of the shining things that he has worked on and increasing that, which is really important because everybody's talking about by the time that we get to retire, there will be literally nothing left for us.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, and
So one of his things about cracking down on landlords, I think the main thing that he was running with was monitoring and enforcing against the discriminatory practices in the housing industry, which is, you know, rampant, and including mortgage financing, appraisals, and other services that should be pursued as illegal. Like I feel like that's been coming out a lot over the last couple of years. I know the New York Times like did a spread about it, but I think it was only because the Black couple in question, they were professors, and I think that's the only reason why it made it to being, you know, an article in the New York Times. But it is definitely because my mother owns a couple of houses, and it is the appraisal process for Black and I would assume Hispanic people is like it's almost embarrassing. Like it's very, they assume so many things about you before they even come and, you know, come and check out your house and take value of your home and things like that. So I think that is something that is very important that he's running on. Paul Rodriguez's campaign doesn't mention that at all. And the disparity is like really insane. I think that it's a lot to read, which is usually the case with when it comes to finance and home ownership and all these things like that. But if you just go to the state.ny.us, and it's the state comptroller, and you'll see all of like the audits and things that he's pushed forward in the last few years. But the most recent one about the home ownership was actually just published 2 days ago. And I think it's a very, very interesting read, supported by charts and beautiful facts and all these things like that. That is also linked to the Census Bureau. So I will just make a quick note about that, why it is very important for us to complete the census. I know that, you know, it has a lot of, to quote Ty's #tricky, a lot of tricky things attached to it. But when it comes to essentially like, you know, midterm and our local elections, completing the census is very, very important. And this ties, we spoke about it a little briefly last week, that it definitely ties to how much funding our New York City, our public schools get within our neighborhoods. If you do not complete the census, they would, if, you know, for instance, like in my community, in my neighborhood, in Bed-Stuy, if only 30% of us completed the census, and of that 30%, only like 10% have children, they'll assume that the school that's in that district doesn't have a large population of students because only 10% of this community has children that are of school age, and, you know, so on and so forth. And these are the things that it goes to fixing our roads, potholes and shit like that in the street. If you want to get a speed bump, if like, it's just so many things that's tied directly into your neighborhood. It's very, very important to complete the census, y'all. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
I just want to add in, the census
yeah.
is currently hiring. So fill them out, but also go get you a little job, you know.
Go get you a little side gig.
Go get you a little job, little after work situation. They have door-to-door positions, which is scary as fuck. But they also have headquarter positions, and they have like manager positions where you would have a staff underneath you. And if they need help, you would go to there. Because like what you do is you stay in one neighborhood. So it's not like you're touring the city.
Mm-hmm.
And usually they put you where you live also. So it's not a really unfamiliar location. So, you know, everybody want a job, let's go on to census.gov. So super simple website, census.gov.
All right.
I'm
So
on right now. I can use that.
the last on our list is the New York State Senate. So being that we took the summer off, we couldn't really push midterm elections and things like that. So an incumbent that is on the ballot is Chuck Schumer, who we all know and has probably spoke at all of our fucking graduations and all of these things like that. He is the Democratic candidate. The Republican candidate is Joe Pinion. And then there is a party that I had to like Google because I've never heard of it before. The LaRouche.
That bitch is strange. Let me tell you, it's been 2 weeks that I've been diving into that shit. That bitch is strange. It's so interesting.
The party,
Diane. Miss Diane
is strange.
She's a yes, but it tracks though because that party, if y'all don't know, the LaRouche party is it's a part of the Democratic Party, right? But they're more socialist and Marxist based. Like that is, and so the party, I think it was like in the 1960s that it was like actually formed. And the man's name, it was after, what's his name? Lyndon LaRouche, right? And so just a little like backstory on it. Back in the 60s and 70s, with all like the hippie movements and all these things like that, he felt like the Democratic Party was just going just a little bit too left. And he didn't really resonate with the far right. So he claimed. So he decided to have like another branch of the Democratic Party. But this party is also like far right. Like it's essentially far right. Like their views and their values is wild.
You think so? I mean, what I read about them is like, it's economic based. I think you can see it on Ballotopedia.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of made sense. Like, it's a little tricky because what they basically want is for the U.S. to have one national bank and to take banking and finance out of the stock market, so that the banks can have some type of what is it called, consequences, where they can't just like use our money to make these wild investments and then they have nothing to back it up or give us our money back. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. But also it's the 60s and niggas was dropping acid. But I was like, that sounded like a really good idea to me.
I mean, so I'm going to plug a show that's got canceled and I think it's worth watching, The Newsroom. I don't know if y'all ever love that show. Love that show. So it's funny because on The Newsroom, there is a character, her name is Salone, and she is a brilliant economist. And there's just certain things that come up. And as I was reading, like what their main goals are of the LaRouche movement, of the LaRouche party, she mentioned, and like one of the main things like Ty just spoke on, that entire act was called the Glass-Steagall Act. And it was removed in 2007. And then we all know what happened in 2008, the housing crisis and the market collapsing and all of these amazing, great things, but also the government, we bailed the banks out, even though they fucked up royally. So like, I think like any party, the LaRouche party they do make some valid points and they do make some, but it's also their candidates are a little tricky, a little extreme.
Racist.
I mean, she's Quaker. What else is she about?
I googled it. Quakers, Quakers are kind of summer down. They have a whole Quakers Black Lives Movement chapter.
I mean, but so did people who put black squares up.
Well, of course. So are they? What's their? I mean, for me, everything comes down to are they racist? Because I'm black.
Yeah. I equate Quakers and what's that other religion? The Mormonists, like. They don't like black people.
Also, are they similar? I don't know about Quakers. I don't know about
Quakers are not as similar, but they're more like
I thought they're more like Amishy. They're more
they like oppose like some of them oppose like technology and like they live off the land and all those things like that. Mormon, like I guess the extreme Mormons, like they do.
Mormons are terrible people. They are actually they're demons. So
yeah.
And I know an ex-Mormon.
And they racist.
Let me say this: Mormons are nice as fuck, but they are also demons. So two things can exist at the same time.
That is facts.
This is true.
Such nice people, insane demons.
Okay, can we go on to
Wasn't the other day was it canceling that school because it said F the Mormons? Was it?
Who said that?
It wasn't it a high school?
Was it? No,
it was
college.
Yes, it was at a football game.
Yeah.
And they were chanting "Fuck the Mormons."
Oh, BYU. Yeah, they had
for University of
they're racist.
Utah.
Mormons are they're terrible.
That school is fucking racist. Every fucking year something happens. They are racist as fuck.
Mm-hmm. I just kind of say maybe 2 or 3 random Mormon facts. One, they do not drink coffee because they think it's satanic. I think, or tea either. They can't have tea or coffee because it's too lustful. Can't have coffee or tea. Yeah. 2, whatever. They don't believe that Black people are real human beings. Yeah. We're Black because when we fell from heaven, like we're fallen angels who became Black. Like that's our sin. That's our punishment of being Black.
Whoa.
Once you become a Mormon and you die as a Black, well, they only let Blacks in like in the last 100 years, they let Black people in.
No, not even in the last 100 years.
It's less than that, right? It's something crazy. Yeah. Like it's like yesterday. But besides that, they believe that if you are a Black Mormon, once you die, you become white. Like you'll get your salvation back and you'll be white in whatever heaven they have.
Is that what Book of Mormon is about?
I haven't watched it. I don't know, but it might be. It might be about that. And they also do something called soaking where they put the penis in the vagina, but they don't pump themselves because that's where the real sin is. But they can have a friend or whatever shake the bed so that you still get the thrusting action without you or the vagina. Neither one of you are engaging in sex. You're just soaking the dick in the pussy. And then your friends pump. And those are my 3 random Mormon facts.
They rock the bed.
Oh yeah, they rock the bed so that you get the pumping.
So everybody in the room just shaking up just everybody.
Shaking the table.
That's called community. I will say that. They do have community.
Okay.
All right, Keoma, back to you.
I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're going to Joe Pinion.
The Senate. Yes, Joe Pinion is the Republican candidate for the Senate. What I will say, even though I don't love Chuck Schumer, it is very important for me that we elect a Democrat into the Senate, because if we lose even one seat in 2022, our majority will be gone and Mitch McConnell will take over the fucking Senate and it's game over again. If we all remember, hopefully we all remember in Obama's last freaking tenure as our president, the House was fucking Republican and we couldn't do shit.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, like people assume that New York is a blue state and we are not. Like, please, let's remember the 12 years of Pataki. And we are actually closer than ever to going back to a red state. I think Joe Pinion, they said, I was listening to a podcast, I'll plug it in the show notes maybe, but they were saying that if if the Senate gets 30% votes, anything over 30% votes in New York City, then it's likely that they will win. And right now, I think Joe Pinion is at 37%. And we always think that New York City is the voting deciding factor. But however, I will tell you guys, I drive upstate often and it is not safe. Like, I don't feel safe. There's a lot of Trump 2024, like way more than you would think. New York is way more segregated, way more red.
Hudson,
did
New
you say?
York. I said Hudson, New York. Wow.
And I mean, I was further up than Hudson, but like once you get to like Warwick, like up there, further up, like where like Binghamton, Ithaca, like it is very, very, very red up there. So don't rest and think that you don't have to vote because it's New York and we're going to be blue. That is not true. And Joe is running a really good campaign by slandering
Black.
It's not because he's black. He's running a good campaign. I don't think it's because he's black. I'll say he's running a good campaign because everything he's slamming Schumer. And if you listen to any of his interviews, he has not put out one policy. Not one policy. Now he will say a lot of buzzwords. He will bring up Martin Luther King. He will talk about education. Also, he was talking about something that I've never heard about school choice. He said that school days should be longer for the education of children. He's talking about public housing because he grew up in Yonkers in the projects. He's against cash bail, abolishing cash bail. He's talking about like poverty and climate and the economy, and he's saying a bunch of nothing. The only thing he continues to say is that he quit his job, and what I hear is that that's a nigga that don't want to work.
Exactly.
And can I just say,
he look wild. And
I was just going to say, on a superficial level, he looks like a nigga that have a podcast. He looks like he loves Kevin Samuels, that he gave money to his funeral. He looks like he could be an incel if not for the fact that he somehow got on TV and there for women. No, I didn't know what he looked like. I don't know.
Not funny, but it's terrible. But no, so Ty's
has a lazy eye.
He gives up. He gives very much like, I hate women.
Oh, 100%.
I hate blacks. I hate me. Kind of face.
And his slogan is "Take back the dream."
Yes.
What the hell?
Now, everybody's slogan actually has something to do with the dream, reimagining, restoring the dream. And I just want to know,
all
what
Republicans.
the fuck is the definition of the dream for y'all? Because I don't want y'all to sell me no more dreams. I want tangible things.
Yep. Well, he said we'll bring fiscal responsibility back to DC. So
what does that mean?
What does that mean? That means nothing. I watched a 37-minute interview with this man and learned absolutely nothing. He said absolutely nothing.
He says nothing. Crime. New York is experiencing a crime crisis.
No, seriously.
Crickets,
If you
crickets.
to Ty's point, if you visit his campaign page, it's literally just he has like a little blurb, well, not a little, like a little soliloquy, I would say.
What does he believe in?
So he believes in a lot of things. He just can't pinpoint what thing.
The one thing I think
hire somebody.
No, the one thing that I do think that he believes in, that's the only thing that rang true, is that he said that he's necessarily not a Republican, but because of some of his views, it aligns more with the Republican Party. But he was talking about more so of like voting across party lines. But I think he was doing that more as a tactic. I do agree with that. And what he was saying was true. You sometimes, like right now, we're in my opinion, we're at a point where we cannot divide our votes across party lines because right now it is so important that we don't give the fucking house to the Republicans because talk about our livelihoods and what is their buzzwords in cost of living and shit like that. It is truly shot in
our rights. That's their main buzzword. Is our rights, our rights, our freedom, and our rights. So think of it using their buzzwords. If Republicans take control of the House, our rights, our freedom is gone. Like it's all gone. All our little student debt relief shit that we just filled out last week, gone. That little 20 G's that we were gonna get, gone. Some of us, not all of us qualify, but some of us. Just abortion. Oh my God. Abortion, health, just basic things. And I think it's very important for Black people to remember that our basic freedom was an amendment. It was not written into the Constitution. It is an amendment. So we do not have the privilege of sitting elections out because anything that is not you have to you have to think of it as you have to elect people that you think, or elect a party that you think you can sway in some matter, right? The Democratic Party is more, you can sway them a bit. Republicans, they're swaying to the other side, like, because they have so many extremists that have taken, and they're like the forefront of the Republican Party. So their shit, the things that they want, that's going to be at the forefront. Student debt relief, they don't give a shit about that, because majority of these motherfucking extremists don't have a college degree. They didn't fucking go to college, or they're just rich enough as to where they don't have any student debt. Abortions, they will lie and deny that they've ever had to get one or paid to get one. And it doesn't matter if abortion becomes illegal, because if they want one, they'd be able to get one because they have the means to do so. We have to understand that we have to think logically that majority of us fall in the middle class or below, and we have to vote for that. We can't vote for what looks good, or that. I feel like that's what happened with Eric Adams. We voted for the fact that he was a Black man, and then because of all the lawlessness that's happening in New York, and he's whatever. I am afraid that something like that will happen with Joe Pinion, because he's a Black man, because he's from the Bronx, because he's from, he's like he could relate to the people and things like that. He doesn't really have one point. The point besides what Ty was saying is that he falls like somewhere in the middle. Like, he's not a Democrat, nor is he a Republican. It's just like, these are the things that matter, that are important to him. But there are buzzwords for us in his little, soliloquy. The fact that he spoke on Newsmax, the fact that he is a representative or a spokesperson for Republican with the capital E-N, just different things, and the people that he aligns himself with. These are the people that he speaks to. These are the people that he aligns himself with. And while Chuck Schumer may not be everybody's favorite, in this case, unfortunately, we have to go with the lesser of two, evils. For lack of,
I did agree with one thing what he did say, Mr. Pinion, lazy-eyed Pinion. He said make a election day a federal holiday. I'll take it.
It should be. It should be.
I'll take it. I mean, I don't think it needs to be set, but like,
it should be.
I agree. I'll take it.
Election is very important. But the thing is that the reason why I would never be that is because majority of people that look like us gotta work. And
don't know,
not all states are like New York, where you have the ability to leave work or come into work 2 hours later or 2 hours before. Just 2 hours later, whatever. Not all states have that. One thing that Lee Zeldin is pushing is voter ID. That's another thing that could cripple some people. Newsroom spoke on it. I would listen. Newsroom is like kind of like a Simpsons thing, where it's like it predicted a lot of fucking shit, and I rewatched it.
It's about watching trends and seeing what's happening down the pipeline. Like, it was the shit that's happening now was stuff that was already put into motion 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was written.
It really is. I just want to talk to the Blacks and the older Blacks. Like, y'all gonna look at Joe Pinion and y'all gonna be like, oh, but he a Black man and he's saying all of this. Like, think of your older brother that can't get it together, your uncle, or that uncle, your son. Would you put New York in their hands? Would you? Because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it with Pinion. I'm not doing it because and let's not even talk about what he's talking about. Asylum seeker, like, y'all can have it. He can have it. Y'all can have it.
Listen, y'all, we are all transplants. We are all immigrants here, willingly, involuntarily. Like, we was all brought here. We was all brought here at some point. But I thank y'all for tapping in. If y'all have any questions, when we post this, we're gonna post links. Please feel free to ask questions. We'll be posting things to our stories in regards to the election. And if you have any questions about any of the candidates, if there's something that I may have missed, or any one of us may have missed, please feel free to leave it in our comments and things like that when we post. And yes, please go out, vote.
We did forget one thing that's left on the ballot, and that's the state Senate. And that's also the person that approves the spending levels, confirms the governor's appointments of state officials. And then the Democrat, his name is David Alexis.
Oh, yes.
And this is where we also, this is where we talk about housing protections and tenants' rights. He's voting on universal health care, public safety, through community investment, and he's supporting the Green New Deal, which I know is very tricky for people who are keeping up to date with what's going on with that. And the Green New Deal is basically America trying to, or the Earth, trying to reduce our carbon emissions and get away from fossil fuels. And, you know, it's basically like oil versus technology. So it's a lot of back and forth bureaucracy with that. And then the Republican running mate is Kevin S. Parker. Don't care. I mean, if you want to know, he is talking about making a safer community, affordable housing, and meaningful employment. I don't know what he means by that. And choosing the educational closing the educational achievement gap. A lot of people are talking about how, due to poverty, apparently America is down in education, but that's been going on before I was born.
Ever. Literally forever.
And yeah. So that's what we have on the ballot, and there's some ballot proposals. We will update that on the stories.
Yes. All right, y'all. Well, all right, so now that we hit y'all with the so boom, now we got a little peep game. Asia, what you trying to put us on to?
All right, on a much lighter note. You know, politics are so important, but they're so heavy, and I guess they're also boring at times. And it's just unfortunate that they are boring and that you really have to be invested. And we're not, even though it affects every single person.
Yep.
It just sucks, but hopefully this was a little entertaining. But if after you eat, after you voted, you want to get some good food, I recommend Ricardo's restaurant. Ricardo's Steakhouse is in Harlem. It's 110th and 2nd Avenue. Now, I did contact them, but they didn't get back to me because I wanted to know, like, if they're Black owned. They're not. They're owned by, I believe, 2 white men, or they're Italian, or they're Hispanic. I don't know, but they're not Black. Yeah, I know I'm pro-Black over here. However, the food is mad good, right? And it's in Harlem, and I feel like they treat their patrons nice. You ever go someplace nice, and it's like you can feel that they took this spot in your neighborhood, but they don't want you there. It's very much not the vibe there. Like, they have murals of like Biggie on the wall, and they have, and the music is like R&B and like old school R&B, and it's like rap. It's, you feel welcomed as a Black, brown person in this establishment. So that's why I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like there's some spots in Harlem that you go to, and it's like, it's very much white. And you're in the middle of Harlem, and you're like, where the fuck am I? So this is East Harlem, but it's a very good establishment. I don't know what their stars are, but the food is always amazing. The price is really good. It's like, it's upscale dining, in my opinion, without having to go like into like lower Manhattan or Midtown. And the food is delicious. Like, I've been there 3 or 4 times.
Upscale dining, and you went to lower Manhattan.
No, because lower Manhattan is like, you have like
Wall Street finance.
No, STK. That's in in Flatiron District. The Me House. STK's in Me House.
Meatpacking District.
Right. Thank you.
House. I'm like, wait, what?
You know what's so funny?
I know it's a steakhouse, but
you know what's so funny? I'm becoming my mother, because my mother says everything crazy. She's always like, she called me. She's like, do you know where the Flatiron is? I'm like, what is the Flatiron?
Flatiron?
Yes. I said, flat iron?
It's the conviction for me.
Like, is that what it says? I'm like, it definitely says flat iron. So Meat House, I'm sorry, it's genetic.
I'm looking this up. This food look good. It's a 4.5 on Google.
Ricardo's good. It's delicious.
Ricardo's is good.
The
Carter's
food is
good.
delicious. Like, just a little about me. I went there 2 weeks ago. I had they
You
have
on
the
a
most
date?
delicious.
You on a date?
No,
Okay.
I mean it was my mom. She paid.
Yeah.
That's a date.
I took her home. That's the date, I guess. I don't know. They have really good like table bread. It's like I don't know how they do it. It's
I
like
love me some table
it's
bread.
like a really thick bread. I don't know what it is, but it's like cut into like triangles and it's like in a panini press. It's delicious.
Oh.
It even tastes good cold. Lots of seafood. It's a steakhouse, but lots of a whole seafood part of the menu. So I just want to say, like, people of Harlem or the Bronx or wherever, if you want some good food at a very decent prices. I mean, like my mom and I went 2 weeks ago and several drinks, several courses, and we paid under $200.
What?
Yeah, the food is really good. The food is, and it has happy hour until 6 p.m. every day.
During the week or every day, Monday through Friday?
I think it's every day till 6 p.m.
Ooh.
If not, I'm sorry about the weekend part, but it's definitely, I know it's on Fridays also.
Okay.
Till 6 p.m. So just check out Ricardo's Steakhouse, 110th and 2nd Avenue.
Okay. All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. Like, follow, subscribe, know what I mean? And drop any questions, anything. Just talk to us,
Suggestions,
communicate,
anything, right.
engage. That's what we need. We need engagement. We need the likes, we need the follows, we need the comments, anything. Just don't be disrespectful because we ain't to the tier where we are above checking y'all motherfuckers. Don't come crazy. And yeah, so tune in next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
It's pontificating, yeah, we back again. To tell your friends, to tell your wretched ass friends. Thought we was gone, but nah, no, we ain't. That you got rid of us, but no, you can't. Yeah,